Rover and BMW, which are effectively the same company anyway, could go to such extraordinary lengths to completely overshadow the launch of a new model, and a model that could be the saviour for Rover cars. Now, I'm talking about the new Rover 75. It's our first chance here today to see it, and your first chance on network television to review just how good the Rover 75 could be. And it could be the saviour for the Rover car company. Now, in case you've been out of the country for the past couple of weeks or been asleep, the boardroom battle at BMW, which led to the removal of Chairman Bernd Pischrieder, are the problems that we're talking about. Bernd Pischrieder was the guardian angel for Rover cars. But what we want to see is whether Rover have succeeded in producing an executive express, a car that can take on the likes of BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and even the Alfa 156. On first looks, the car seems big, grand, and with a somewhat regal presence to it, not unlike the Rovers of the 1950s and 1960s, and that is completely intentional. This car wouldn't look out of place parked outside number 10 Downing Street. It also reminds you very much of the new Jaguar S-Type, a sweeping rear end, lots of chrome on the exterior, and those two front headlights, and rather interesting that both cars were launched at the same time at the British Motor Show. The 75 is a replacement for both the 600 and 800 in the Rover range, and in terms of size it sits slap bang in the middle of those two cars. It's bigger than a 3 Series, an Audi A4 or a Mercedes C-Class. So maybe this car is beginning to move into the next segment, a 5 Series size car for the price of a 3 Series one. Now, stepping inside the 75 is almost an event in itself. It's almost retro styling gone completely mad, but personally I love the wonderful styling inside here. Lots of chrome, lots of wood. You can have the option of leather, and these gorgeous oval dials with the cream background are so reminiscent of the Art Deco era of the 1920s and 1930s. Now, you can choose from a choice of 3 different trim levels. There's the basic classic, there's the club, which is this particular model, and the most luxurious connoisseur versions. However, it's just been announced that the cheapest classic model will not be available back in the UK until the end of the year. Why, oh why, do they shoot themselves in the foot? The 75 does drive very well. It's smooth, it's quiet, and the handling really is as good as Rover claim. Now, we've had some pretty awful road surfaces to contend with here in Spain, but the 75 has just soaked them up with ease, and on the motorway at cruising speeds there's hardly any wind noise into the cabin. Now, talking to one of the Rover executives at dinner last night, he said that Rover might just go back into the North American market with 75, and you can imagine this car on the roads of America. It's almost been engineered and designed with that slightly in mind, and surely the Americans would love it. The 75 is a car that, if you want to push it hard and have a bit of fun in, you certainly can. The steering is nicely weighted. It has a smooth feel over differing surfaces. The gearbox, though, is perhaps not as slick as I would have liked, but maybe it's just the one that we've got on the test car here. This new 2-litre V6 power plant in the 75 is very smooth, it revs freely, but for me, it just lacks a little bite. A bit extra power would be nice. The car to go for, I would think, would be the 2.5 V6, which has a lot more power, a lot more oomph, and will be the car to give you enjoyment. Now, the starting point of a car is, of course, its chassis, and in the 75, it's excellent. It's 2.5 times stiffer than the Rover 600, and going around these bumps and bends here, we found absolutely no body flex, and combined with BMW's superb rear Z-axle, it makes a great all-round package. So once you're safely sat inside your mini Bentley, you can see how well the car is equipped. Twin front airbags, electric windows, electric mirrors, radio cassette, leather steering wheel, and so the list goes on. The seating position is fully adjustable, but despite these seats being like armchairs, long-range comfort could be a problem. Rover have invested heavily in the 75, of course with the help of BMW, and £700 million has gone in design, development and the facilities at Oxford where the 75 is built. BMW bought Rover for £400 million and has so far invested £4 billion in the brand. But it's Rover's huge losses which cause the demise of the BMW bosses. Estimates of Rover's losses range at anything from £200 to £400 million. Whatever it is, it's certainly a huge amount of money. So the overall feeling is that Rover have produced a winner. With the 75 you can have some rather wacky colour schemes like this top-of-the-range yellow connoisseur. But the key question is, who will actually buy the 75? They need to get away from that local vicar who drives a Rover feeling and tempt new buyers into the mark. They need to tempt buyers away from the likes of BMW, Mercedes, Audi and even the Alfa 156. Prices have just been announced for the new 75. They start at £18,225, ranging to £25,625 for the top-of-the-range connoisseur model. But would it tempt, say, a 30-something dashing executive from an Alfa 156? Well, perhaps not. But if the 75 becomes your company car and it's sat at home in your driveway, be sure that the neighbours will be giving it some envious glances.